Okay, so now that we did the Swiss chard shot, I had some bok choy that is really amazing. This is beautiful stuff. This is baby bok choy. It's incredibly sculptural in its form. I absolutely love this stuff. So I'm gonna set this out there, and in keeping with my desire to shoot a bunch of different stuff, I'm gonna go kind of fast. I wanna look around and find something kind of interesting. I have a couple of different lenses, but I'm gonna play with this. I'm actually gonna go off of my stand for a few minutes here to find something I think is kind of cool. And once I do, I'm gonna work that direction quite a bit. So first, let me start with this guy. I have no idea where I'm gonna go yet. Just gonna play around with it. That's kind of cool. I mean, just a simple shot like that can be pretty dramatic and dynamic. Let's try that as a vertical, however. Again, I'm looking for the sculptural form in this thing. That could be kind of interesting. I want to play with that a little bit, see what I get. Without question, I'm pushing the light here, and I'm probably going to need to add a new light, but I first want to decide if I even like this direction. Which, you know what, I don't. You can't even tell what that is. I mean, it's interesting, but I don't know that I'm in love with it. In fact, I do know. I'm not in love with it. So I want to mix it up a little bit. Let me grab a different lens and see what I get. Now, I'm going to go with a really macro lens here, like super macro. And before somebody criticizes me for putting the back of the lens up and allowing dust to fall in it, yeah, I did that. It happens, but I don't care. I'm going fast, I'm making images. It's gonna be cool. All right, so we shot that with the 50 with the extension tube on it, and now just to show you something completely different. This is a 65mm macro. This is kind of a crazy lens and how close you can get. So I'm going to first start by being as far away from the subject as I possibly can, which is almost ridiculously close. Like, this is as far away as I can get. So you can see I was just focusing right on that little leaf in there. That's as far away as I can get. Now look at how long this thing extends. This is crazy. This is really for super tight stuff. If you want to photograph a bug's eye, this is the way to go. Because I have to get in. Okay, so here's the edge of a leaf. I think I'm seeing like 3 veins. Now you can see how dark it is because as I extend out, the elements are moving in succession. The light is going further in distance and it's being diminished. You have to really increase the power. Maybe if you wanted to get like a couple of really up-close shots of caviar, like an egg or 2, this lens would be great, but this has no application. So this is something you should be aware of before you go and purchase a lens. You might want to test it out. Just rent it and see if it sounds like it's a good idea. 65 macro, not a lens for me. Sometimes it's just about working it until you find the right spot. You need to see some of the background, without question. Not in love with it. I'm just not in love with it. And I think what we need to do is switch this up. Like, I think with the bok choy, I really need to shoot it on black. I think I need to go to black plexi and work with its shape, have it really sculptural, and work with its reflection. So in doing that, I'm also going to switch my light. I'm going to use a beauty dish, which is something a little bit different. I'm first going to go and I'm going to take some of these, I'm going to cut them, and I'm going to put them out here, and then we'll go and we'll put it on black. So let's shift gears because that's not working. Okay, so I did not like what I had going on in that last shot at all. I really feel like that bok choy needs to be sculptural, and I need to approach it from a completely different realm. So I'm going to do so by shifting to black plexi. But before I do that, I still like this surface, and I thought about this other blue pan that I have. I thought, what happens if I just kind of cut the bok choy? And again, I'm kind of thinking the way I was with the Swiss chard, where I was taking something really organic and giving it an edge. So that's what I've done here. I've quartered the bok choy, and I'm just going to do kind of a down shot on it. It's really simple, just lemon juice. I'm going to add some salt and pepper, and we're going to see what happens. And we're going to switch lenses too. I'm going to go to 50. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm completely shifting gears. I really like this metal pan. It's old, it's kind of cool, it's got some good color, and it really plays on the color of the background. If I look into this, because of the shape of the pan, I'm not going to see anything but the edge of the pan. This is really more of a down shot, so I'm bringing my camera up quite a bit. I'm not going to go straight down on it, but almost. I'm going to give it a little bit of an angle. We'll see what this looks like. Could be cool. That crop is not properly set, so it's doing something weird. Let's get it the right way. So I had my vertical 11 by 14 crop on it. I need my horizontal 14 by 22. Let's go ahead and apply that. Kind of simple, kind of interesting. It's really hot though. Like we're blowing out. But I kind of like it. It's a different shot from what I've done before. So I just walked over to the power pack. It's really kind of hot and blowing out. So I want to knock it down a little bit, which I may have gone a little too far there. So let's see what my settings are. 7.1. Let's bump it up here. 5.6. Take another capture. And again, I think I'm going to need a little bit of a fill light. So let's kind of put this guy right in here and see what happens. Much nicer. It gives me tone up above. Gives me a lot of tone in the green, which I can work with. This is something that I'm going to kind of keep right here in terms of my exposure. I'd like to get a little bit more out of the green, and I'll probably do that in post. There are a few holes in some of the leaves that you can see. I'll fix those in post. I'm not going to worry about it here. All I'm going to do is add some salt and pepper, and we're going to see what we get. Really simple shot. Sometimes it's this most simplistic shot of just a few things that can have a big impact. Obviously, there are a lot of other times where a more complicated shot really draws a person in. So kind of think in both realms. Look at something that's simple and looking at something that's a lot more complex. The pepper is going to help. It's going to give us some tone down in the whites of the bok choy, which will be good. And also give us some on the lemon. And we're going to add a little salt too. It's a great thing to kind of play with it. It's a lot of fun. All right, let's see what we get. We might be moving on. This is good and quick. So I'm just going to move my fill card rather. I'm going to move my fill card just a little bit to kind of play with that light. I like it. It's really simple. So I know already in post that I'm going to go through and I'm going to push down these whites just a little bit while bringing the green up a little bit in exposure. The holes I'm going to fix, and the background I'm just going to make it a little bit deeper and a little bit darker, just so I can kind of have those tones focus more in here. It's going to give us that kind of old country table feel. I'm happy with that. That's a nice clean shot. That's going to be a nice spread as it goes across 2 pages of my book as well. Although, let me see. In looking at it, I've got a little too much pepper here and not enough there, so I'm going to try to make a quick change with that. First we'll add some in here. Let's see if I can carefully subtract some. Which we can. All right, a couple more quick pops and this guy's done. Then let's shoot it on black Plex. So the last move I made, I had my card down here. I wanted to deepen the shadow that was below the pan, so I just raised the card up so it was above the lid of the pan. It still is pushing light back in on my bok choy, but it was allowing this to go a little bit darker. I won't have to do it in post now, just a real quick move, boom, done. All right, I like that shot. It's clean, it's nice looking. I'm gonna move on to the next thing. The shot that I'm working on now is working with baby bok choy on black plexiglass. For this particular image, I'm going for pure sculptural form. Bok choy, this is baby bok choy actually, has a very unique shape and I want to capitalize on that. So I'm going to start with one light above. It's a pan head and it's got a grid insert, so it's giving me a really direct source of light, yet soft at the same time, because what's happening on the inside of that pan head, there's a metal puck or plate that's floating right in front of the flash tube. So all the light from the flash tube is hitting that metal plate, it's bouncing back into the reflector, and then it's coming back down. It's a really beautiful light, and they call it a beauty dish. So what I'm doing is putting a grid insert, which is going to give it more direction. That's really going to help make the shape of my bok choy pop out. And then we're going to play with the reflection that's going on the black plexi as well. I think the first thing you're going to notice when I take this shot is how disgusting the black plexi is. It sucks up dirt and dust like crazy. So we're going to see all this stuff. What I'm going to wind up doing is pulling the bok choy off again, and I'm going to clean it with a special plexi cleaner. But let's first take a quick look and see what it looks like. Wow. All right. Very dark, but it's going to be cool. So let me do a couple of things. Let me make a couple of adjustments. 5/6. I don't want to go any shallower than that. I'm going to increase the power on my light. So with this, I'm going to increase the power 2 full stops because that's pretty dark. I'm also going to bring this in and bring it forward just a little bit. It's actually dark enough where you don't see all the gross stuff on the Plex. And the other thing I have not done is I have not set my polarizer yet. You can see that I need to. It's getting a weird halation on that Plex. I may have to do this, because I'm getting so much ambient light in here, I may just have to do this by playing with the polarizer, taking shots and looking at it to see where I want it. The other thing, because I'm coming straight down on top of it, I'm really not getting much variance in the Plex at all. So I'm going to make 2 more changes. I'm going to push this back a little bit. It's really hot. I'm going to bring it to this side. I'm going to tip it, and then I'm going to tip it forward slightly. And again, I'm going to bring it back. The reason I'm doing that is because I want to bring the light across just a little bit and give it a little bit more interest. It's got a lot more interest. A little hot. In fact, I think I may have brought it too far. Yeah, I did. So let's bring it back up and over just a bit. We're going to kind of split that difference. Now, I do have a polarizing gel on the front of this light and one on the camera. So as I spin, I can really control what I'm knocking down. One of the things that it does, though, it doesn't really allow the heat to escape. So this thing gets pretty hot pretty quickly. Normally, if I'm doing this and I've got multiple lights on a set, I would turn this light out in order to keep it cool. I don't have the luxury here because then I can't see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to watch it. I'm going to make sure that I'm aware that this thing is getting pretty hot because all the heat is being contained in it. And we're going to be careful when I work with it. That's looking better. I like the direction of that. Now I'll be able to fill it in a little bit, and I think it's going to be pretty cool. You can see all this stuff on the surface. Let's take a quick look at this. Look at that. That is all dust. It's like somebody has taken salt and gone over my entire set. That's one of the dangers of working with Plex. It may drive you crazy. Look at it as you get close to it. It's insane. So I'm going to use something that's really designed specifically for plexiglass. It's a cleaning system, and one, it'll clean it, and two, it'll take out scratches. So let me get that and I'll show it to you. So plexiglass is something that you can find at quite a few home improvement stores. You won't find a big sheet of it. If you want something that's like 4 feet by 4 feet or 4 feet by 8 feet, you're going to have to go to a plexiglass supplier, which you can find. One of the best ways to store it is to actually take paper, like art paper, you know, the big brown rolls. Once you've exposed this, because it comes with a film on it that's a cling film, so it clings to it and keeps it nice and scratch-free. Once you pull that off, one, static like crazy starts sucking dust into it, and two, it's really easy to scratch. So take the brown paper or roll paper, go over it, tape it together, and then put it back into your vertical storage. That'll keep other things from scratching it as it goes in and out of vertical storage. You will need to do this. Get Novus. This is a 3-step cleaning system if you want to use it. 1 is cleaning, 2 removes scratches, 3 removes deep scratches. It's a nice little system. You can find this stuff pretty much anywhere. I know the last place that I found it was, where was it? The Container Store. They had it. Kind of interesting. All right, so let's clean this thing up. And then we can get our bok choy back out there and make an image. So this rag is going to get a lot of the big gross stuff off of here for me. It is going to leave lint because it is not a lint-free rag. So I'm going to go over it with my anti-static rag after I get all this stuff off. So I'm going for the dirt first. And you can see all the lint and stuff it's leaving behind as I go across it. The other thing that I try to keep in mind as I do this, over the course of time, plexi can become scratched. So I try to go in the same direction every time I use it and clean it. I'm always trying to go side to side like this in one direction. The more you swirl it or go around, the more you're going to wind up causing scratches in it. So this is my anti-static rag, and I'm going to now go over it and try to get off all this dust. So the anti-static rag is also going to help with the charge on the Plex and help keep some of that dust off. And again, going in the same direction to try and prevent as much of the scratching as I possibly can. Voila! Now let's hit it with a can of air. And let's bring this guy back into position. You know, Initially, when I was looking at this in the kitchen, this leaf that was bent was really bugging me, and I kept thinking, okay, how am I going to wire that up? What am I going to do with it? I like it. When I'm sitting here looking at it on set, I love it. I love the way it's curving. I love the way it's giving me a little bit of interest on that left side. It's kind of nice. Happy accident. And I can tell I'm not positioned right, so let's go back here. All right, so let's take a look at this and see if we can't make something nicer. So for this shot, again, I've gone back to my 5D Mark III and back to my 100mm macro. Remember, I've got the pan head up above. Oh, that's kind of nice. Now, you can absolutely see a huge difference in the background. One is I clean up the surface. I'm getting rid of a lot of that bluing that was kind of going on. It's still there a little bit just because this piece of Plex is a little bit old and it's a bit scratched. The scratches are causing light to get caught and it's kind of bluing out a little bit. I'll be able to knock that down in post, but I want to maintain that reflection. One of the things that's changed that I like is this leaf over here, but I'm losing a little something on that other side. So I'm going to do a slight rotation and then I'll add a fill light and we'll probably be good. Let's take a look at that. So one of the things I think is so interesting about this particular type of shot, it takes away everything and it becomes about the ingredient itself and really looking at that ingredient or that food as a piece of sculpture. Simple lighting, highlights that are nice, giving it a lot of form and a lot of volume. Let's quickly take a look at adding a little bit of fill light in there. If you look at my portfolio, you'll see that I've done this quite a few times where I've shot with ingredients on black. And I do that, one, to kind of contrast some of the things that I do on white, because white is very light and very airy, but it doesn't have the same kind of sculptural feel. I find that if I'm looking at a piece of food that has a really unique shape, I like putting it on black if I'm just kind of shooting it as an ingredient because of the sculptural quality. I find that when I go on white, it gives it that kind of lighter editorial feel, more about freshness and, you know, kind of healthy living. It just, at least in my mind, that kind of white background pushes in that direction. I really prefer to shoot something like this on black because it's dramatic. It's also an eye catcher. People always stop at this kind of imagery in my portfolio. When I have this up there, they definitely take a quick look. I'm gonna put the right crop on here. So I don't need all this. This is way too much. So let's see what happens when we get rid of some of the stuff we don't need. Oh. One thing that's tough about shooting on black is you can't tell where your crops are. It makes it a little bit hard. And this is going to be nicer when we come in like that. Don't want to lose all that. All right, that's pretty simple. So I've got my fill card in there. It's giving me a little bit of light. I want to kick a little bit more light in, so I'm going to grab a silver card. See if I can't get some of this to really highlight down in there. This may be too extreme. I don't know if it's too extreme. I think I want to pull it back a little bit. All right, let's see what happens if we pull this out and just get this guy from back here. I think I want to split that difference. So as I'm going back through this is without any fill card. This is with the silver card coming in. Actually, let's back up. That's without any fill card at all. This is with the silver card in there, and it's doing quite a bit. I really like it. I think it's a little too much. So, whoa, man, like look at that. That's a lot. So let me play with the position of this, and I might even want to play with curving it or even using a smaller card. So what's nice about this is I can just kind of go handheld with everything. Oh yeah, that's looking good. You see the subtle differences that I'm making there? Just a little bit will do a lot. So what I'm doing right now is I'm curving the card and I'm going up and down with it because I want to change where the light is hitting. Like here I felt like it was just kind of not getting enough light there, but here it's definitely too much. When I go back, I kind of like this. I want to scoop the light right in there and let it die as it goes down. So I'm going to try to get in right about there. Let's see if that does it. Yeah, that's nice. Look at this form. So by curving that card and tipping it in, catching that single pan light, I've brought light so it comes right down here. It's taking my eye. It goes into here. It gets dark again, which is going to push my eye back up. So remember, I'm continuing to want to lead my eye around this thing. The one thing I'm seeing is that this is really hot up here. I don't know if there's any tone in that whatsoever. So let me quickly look and see if I can adjust it with my polarizer and get some tone back up there. If not, I'll use a dot or a finger in order to get that in there. Ooh, I can do it with the polarizer. See what that looks like. Yeah, that gives me the tone up top that I want, but it's bringing too much in. So let's split the difference. A little more. Yep, okay. So what's nice about the polarizer is I can control how much light is up here. By rotating it, I can knock it out, and then by moving it ever so slightly, I can introduce a little bit more of it back in. I'm still going to want a little bit more back in. Yep. And now I'm going to go back with this guy, and I'm going to scoop some light down in here. So let's curve this around. A little too much. It's a little too silvery. Back it off a bit. That's pretty. And for curiosity's sake, let's see what happens. I like that. It really has an interesting shine to it too. It's kind of nice is you can see how this is sweating, how it's just releasing a little bit of moisture because it came out of the fridge. Let's grab a white card. We'll do the same and see what we get. Well, let's take a look at this. This is something interesting here. So this is going with my silver card, which you can see is really giving us quite a bit of shine, and I think I kind of like it. In comparison, this is the white card. So it's giving us highlight, but it's not giving us that same kind of pop, that little bit of shine where, you know, the leaf is almost really looking glassy in this, and I kind of like it that way. So we may keep it. So I've been working with the silver card. Now I'm going to get a white card. And again, this is one that I cut into a million little slices so I can kind of curve it. That gives me the ability to kind of get in there and shape it. I also cut this little bit of a curve in it, which allows me to put my hand down in there so I can shape it easily and still hold it. So a lot of times I do something like this just handheld. I'm popping my camera, I'm controlling the light. If I get it, I know I've got it because it's right there on digital, which is beautiful. So I'm going to kind of play around with this a little bit. Let's see what we get. That's kind of interesting. Now obviously I'm in there a little bit, no problem, I can wipe that out in post. But immediately what I'm seeing is a huge difference in the fill light. When I look back here, the silver card that I was using kind of has a hot quality to it. It's making the leaf gleam a little bit, which is kind of interesting. That compared to the white where it's really very subtle, very soft. The veins come out in the leaf, but not as much. I think I like this more. I like them both, so I know I'm going to work this a little bit. The nice thing about digital is I can kind of work this both ways, and then in post-production, I can come back with a fresh set of eyes and make a decision on which one it is I really want to go forward with. So that's what I'm going to do. So right now I'm not going to worry so much about what's going on with the reflection or my card coming in. I want to concern myself really and truly with the fill light and what I'm going to get, because I know I can merge a couple of exposures. Ooh, I kind of like that. That is really nice. I'm just going to work this card in a little bit. I want to get a corner of it in there just to kick a little light down there. But you can see this shape right here where the light is coming down and then it's getting a little bit of shadow here. I've got this highlight right there. Again, it's taking the eye in and through, which is exactly what I want to do. So let's kind of manipulate this just a little bit. Even nicer. You see how that changed? Let's look at that. So this is pretty nice, but I'm getting that highlight coming down. That's pretty. And I might merge the two of those, because I love the highlights here on this side. I think it's becoming a little too much in the middle in comparison to that. Subtle moves can make a huge change. So let's make a couple more. And in order to do this, I'm going to get down nice and low with my camera. Go right there. Okay. Now I really like what's going on the left edge. I'm going to enhance it a little bit more. It's dying up here in the main leaf, so I'm going to wind up mixing two of them. But I got a couple of things that are really nice. So let's move this forward just a little bit. Another capture or two, and I've got enough components that I can work with in post to make something really, really nice. Okay, that's almost there. Yeah, I like that. So think about that image combined with this reflection. Those two will be really nice together. And I think that's it. I'm really happy with that. I know in post I'm going to go in, I'm going to clean up some of these nicks, a little bit of these holes and dark spots. I'm going to merge a couple of files in order to get some of the highlights that I want. So this has been a really fun exercise. We decided to grab some food and just kind of rapid fire throw things at me so I could explore a couple different shots. And I know we got some really nice stuff. We looked at a whole variety of images and we were making a lot of changes very quickly. And some of them are just really simple, subtle changes where I'm moving around a white card or a silver card just to see where I can fill in. I'm doing it handheld and very free-flowing. I actually think that this is a really good exercise for you to try. I think it's very smart for you to sit down and have something that's really planned out, like we've done with a lot of our other shots where we did research on a recipe, went down to a store, researched the background, kind of figured out what we wanted to do, laid it all out, and then got it on set. That's a very planned, very calculated way to go. I also think an exercise like this is really smart to help sharpen your skills in a different way. And that is look at the form, look at the shape, look at your lighting, play with things. Just kind of look at something and say, okay, what property do I want to really play up? And like for me, with the bok choy, we played it up a couple of different ways. One, we went very sculptural, where we looked at it as pure form. And the other, we looked at it as a way to kind of make it lighter, a little bit more editorial, taking this very funky, free-form thing, cutting hard edges into it as we bisected it into quarters, and then laid it out into a pan with a little bit of lemon and pepper. Same item, very different feel, very different sets, and different lighting as well. Not overly complicated lighting, but just a smart approach in order to bring out form and shape and appetite appeal. So that's basically what I'm going for in all of these images, and I'd like for you to give it a try as well.